I am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Inspire. Listen, I get so giddy when I see that intro. I know Inspire needs to be updated, but it just gives me a burst of energy before I come on and hang out with all of you who are coming in on social media, coming in on Instagram. If you see me, look, that's Instagram over there. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We're so grateful that you're hanging out with me on this Saturday morning. And so if you don't know anything about me, if this is your first time watching Inspire, welcome. So glad that you're here. I'm your host, Sue A. Webley, author, producer, award-winning minister, and an entrepreneur. And I believe in the power of words, wisdom, and witness. And that's exactly what Inspire is all about. So each Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, we hold space for honest, soulful, and often transformative conversations from guests from all walks of life. You've seen it if you've been here any amount of time. We talk to everybody, right? Entrepreneurs, artists, thought leaders, organizers, and everyday people who are living boldly and authentically. We explore topics that matter, from mental health to identity to faith, business, justice, creativity, and healing. And so whether we're spotlighting community leaders or celebrating personal triumphs, Inspire is rooted in the power of story and the belief that when we speak our truth, we light the way for others. Once again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, on LinkedIn. And so I want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. Connect, follow, like, and subscribe. If you've been already following me on Cara Solutions LLC, thank you so much. I appreciate that support. But I'm building up the Inspire with Sue W platform. So I want you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And also, you can head over to our website at www.getinspired.live, www.getinspired.live. There you can watch all of our previous episodes, find out a little bit more about the show, and subscribe to our newsletter, because we don't want you to miss anything that's coming up with Inspire. So I see some of you on, but I can't shout you out if I don't see you post. So go ahead and post. Do me a favor. This is a question I ask every Saturday morning. What are you sipping on? What are you sipping on this morning? So, I always have a cup. This is my affirmation cup this morning. Yeah. Okay. It says, you are enough. I accept compliments graciously. Each day is a fresh start. Self-love matters. I love my affirmation cup this morning. And if you know me, you know there's coffee in here. There's coffee in my, hey, Minister Sandy. Good morning. Good to see you. Coffee in my cup. And it is, I love coffee, but the caffeine doesn't love me. So it's decaf. It's decaf. It's actually decaf espresso. If there's such a thing. So I'm going to take a sip. If you're watching and you're so obliged, go ahead and tell me what you're sipping on and tell me where you are watching from. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. So I'm so excited to have joining me the co-authors of this amazing book, American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of seeking diversity, equality, and inclusion. And so we have Dr. John F. Leeke, PhD, and Ananda Leeke. I'm going to say PhD to you, Ananda, as well. And I am so grateful that we have the opportunity to come together today because we are kind of leaning today into history and legacy and the power of storytelling across generations. And we are living in a time, I know, we're living in a time when conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion are challenged, right? And have been pushed back, have been rolled back, have been dismantled. But today, we sit with these wonderful voices that remind us why this work is sacred and why it is necessary and why we cannot stop. And so, family, this conversation is more about more than resilience. It's about rootedness, right? Rootedness means our history grounds us, our values guide us, and our legacy lives on. And that is the gift of today's conversation. Let me put them up on the screen. That is the gift of today's conversation. Our guest embodied both wisdom and vision, a father who has lived the struggle and led change for decades, and a daughter who carries that story forward with fresh eyes and a digital lens. And so together they have co-authored this amazing book, American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. And so as we prepare to meet Dr. John Leeke and Ananda Leeke, I came across this video, Dr. John, and I loved it so much of the unboxing. So we're going to watch you unboxing these books, and then we're going to get into our conversation.
Oh my goodness. The books are here. Hallelujah. Hallelujah and amen. All right. Oh my. Oh God.
I saw that. I said, we have to show this video. I mean, wow. I mean, I was moved by that reaction. So that was the very first unboxing of the book. That was the first time you were holding it in your
Yes.
hand.
Yes.
Wow. And I know we saw it on the screen, but can you share with us exactly what that felt like for you?
I mean, it was just fantastic, Sue, because I knew they were on the way, and I was anxious. And then when the UPS man came to the door, and I had him to unload because there were, I think, about 12 or 13 boxes, and then I brought it into my office and opened it up, and I mean, it was just kind of like everything all of a sudden had come. I mean, I just couldn't hold myself back. And I'm in there by myself. There's no one else in there at the time.
Wow, that is amazing. So Ananda, when you first held the book for the first time, how did you feel?
Well, like all the books that I've given birth to, it felt like having for me, like a child, you know. It's something that you have in your heart and you have in your mind. You talk about it, you work on it. I've only spent a number of years writing books. I've never written one in a month. So it's actually seeing what you dreamed about, what you wrote notes about, what you wrote about, what you may have argued about, what you have cried about, all of the emotions. I mean, I gratitude, all of the emotions. But I will say this: I always hold my books like this when they come, like it's right, you know, and I sleep with a book right next to me, you know, whether it's sitting on the dresser or on the pillow. I like to have the book near me because it's like, oh wow, this really happened. This really happened. Give thanks to Creator and the ancestors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard you say a month. I'm gonna ask you about that a little later.
Well,
You
no,
wrote it
I've
in
never. I said I've
a
never written a book in a month. It's always
so
been
it's been in a, so it took so you wrote that in 1 month?
no. It's I've
Oh,
never written a book in a month, so it's always been years. That's what I was
oh,
saying.
it's always been years.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
always
okay.
been a number of years
Uh-huh.
in
Uh-huh.
writing a book for me. I mean, those that can do it, I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
That's not my experience to date.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you for sharing. If you are viewing, welcome again. They have graciously decided and that they want to give a copy of this book away. So if you are interested in joining the drawing for this book, go ahead and put hashtag inspire inside the chat. So before we get into our deeper conversation, what are you sipping on this morning, Dr. John?
Well, I'm like you. I've got my coffee and I'm a decaffer. So yeah, it's always good to start the morning off with a nice hot cup of coffee. So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Yes, we're kindred spirits in that way. And Ananda, I know you either have water or tea. What do you have in your cup?
Well, today I have a an iced tea. It's a ginger turmeric tea. So yeah.
Ooh, that sounds good. Ginger turmeric. Ooh,
Mm.
that sounds good. Thank you for sharing that again. Those of you who are watching, go ahead and put in the chat what you're sipping on, where you're watching from. All right. Now, before we kind of dig into the chapters themselves a little bit, I want to talk about like the heart of the project, right? Because this book isn't just it really isn't just one person's memoir. It's a father and daughter writing together, right? Which is rare and it is powerful. And so, why was it important to write American Change Agent, and why did you choose to do it together as father and daughter? And we will start with Dr. John.
Well, I I would like to start with this too. It started actually with me writing a letter to my four children. Uh, and the idea came from having gone to a sort of like a workshop in which uh, Madeline or Ananda, uh, by the way, she has several names from me. Uh, she has the name her mother and I gave her, which is Madeline. She has a nickname, which pretty much I guess I'm responsible for, which is Puff.
Oh,
And she has the name she gave herself, which is Ananda. So
mhm,
there are a lot more people now who know her as Ananda. I know her as Puff. So
mhm,
if I occasionally slip into that, just forgive me, but you at least now have an idea of what happens. But
mhm,
at any rate, uh, I went with her to this particular. It may have been like a reading, and people were reading stories that they had done, and it was about something they wanted to leave or say to someone.
mhm,
And so shortly after that, then I got to thinking about it, and so I did. I wrote a letter and uh, said some things as a father um, to his children, and afterwards, and after their reaction, then I said, well, that was just a little something about,
mhm,
their father. And I then decided and started writing, making sort of some notes and so forth. And then I said, well, maybe I could, write a book, tell my story.
yeah,
And that was probably close to 15 years ago. And so I put together an outline, and interestingly enough, uh, that outline has held its own
Wow.
for all the time. And as we got into the latter part of my life, added a few chapters, and also that that's why why the and how the book sort of came about.
Thank you for sharing. So Ananda, how did you get involved?
I got involved when my dad finished the the rough draft that he put everything down. I told him, I said, you have to put everything down and then I'll come back through and it'll be like surgery. And we'll um, take out what we need to take out, add what we need to add what we need to put into the book. So that was during the pandemic. That was in 2020. Um,
Wow.
and so we started a couple, probably like the summer, August of 2020, around that time. And we worked on it every week. We had some time, some weeks where we um, didn't work on it. We used Zoom. And I got involved because I wanted to make sure that his life was documented um, in a way in which people in our family and folks that work in the diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion industry, that they would have tips and tools and the history that he carries. And I also knew how important it is to write your story. I've written
Yes.
2 memoirs myself, and I just think that you don't have to wait too long before you write it. And it was important to get our families history in one place
Yeah.
so that folks will have the photos because we have over 100 photos in the book. People actually have the information, and we have like all families. We have a very strong legacy. I think when you look at where you came from, whether you can go back a generation or several, like we can,
Mhm.
that is some place where you pull strength from. You
Yeah.
know, the people who came before you.
Yeah. Thank you. So, thank you for sharing, Ananda. Speaking of who came before us, Dr. John, in the chapter "The People I Come From," you honor your ancestors. So, can you share with us how their resilience and values shaped your calling to be a change agent?
Yes, you know, as we really had the opportunity to really delve into our ancestors, we've been very fortunate that we've been able to have some real help in doing that. Um, uh, One of my nieces, Ellen Cook, she is the genealogist of the family, and she has done a lot of work in terms of tracing, the ancestry on both my side and my wife Teresa's side. So we had a lot already. And then the other thing that we had that was so helpful was that my mother, Frederica, and one of her sisters, Pauline, they kept albums. You know how families have them, and they had pictures in there. In fact, there were, I think, my mother may have had at least two full albums, and so we had all these pictures of the people that my grandparents and her grandparents, and she did something that I think some people do. She wrote the names of who was in that picture, and because otherwise we might not have known exactly who they were. I mean, but that turned out to be very helpful. And as you know, there are numerous pictures in this book, which I think the readers will enjoy being able to connect. Then, when we talk about uh, the different people, they can then go and look and they can see them. They can say, "Oh,
Mm.
that's Uncle Buck,"
Yeah.
or "That's Granny Man." Uh, it makes it come alive. Okay,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so uh, uh, and then I think the thing that really blew me away was when we uh, went through the African ancestry and did what we needed to do in terms of checking. And when the results came back,
Mm.
it was I could not believe it, Sue. I just couldn't believe that uh, there was such a strong connection to Africa
Oh.
and two of the African countries, and specifically the particular tribal connection for Nigeria, which is Yoruba, and for Ghana, which was the Akan.
Mm.
Uh, and when that information came, and because I have a very close connection with several Nigerian families, but one in particular, because we are so involved in their family and they're so involved in our family. Uh, I said, this just has to be. I don't know how it could be in any other way. For
Yeah.
at this point, the two of us, the Adelie family and the Leeke family, are so connected. So yes, I and when I think about what uh, my uh, uh, great great grandfather, who took his family,
Mm.
now get this, family of 16, he, his wife, and 14 children,
Wow.
left from Hagerstown, Maryland, and traveled all the way to Canada using every possible means of transportation to reach freedom.
Mm.
And then when we had, people lots of times say, "Well, my folks go back to slavery days." Well, people say that, and they don't necessarily always have verified information. We have verified information, and the verified information came to us through being able to be aware of a newspaper article from the Lansing, Michigan paper,
Mhm.
which that they had an article that included the obituary of him. He was 102 years old
Wow.
when he passed, and they talked about his travel with his family through the Underground Railroad to Canada.
Wow.
I mean, how, how do you get that? I mean, so so and I realize the thing is, I realize the strength and the courage that their resistance
Yeah.
showed, and it truly has encouraged me to do a lot of what I've done in my life. If they could do that, why can't I
Yes.
do
Yes.
something
Yes.
that is courageous and will hopefully make a difference?
Yes. 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 So thank you so much for sharing all of that. It is so important to kind of lean into your history, right?
Yes.
And not many of us have the opportunity to or even the gumption, right, to kind of go and research and go all the way back. And I know for me, especially in terms of ancestors, when as I came up, that wasn't something that was really spoken about, right? And so it wasn't until like I was good in adults, right? Um, that ancestors, I began to think about ancestry,
Mhm.
and I remember once I was in a workshop, and they part of the workshop was we had to name an ancestor, right? We had to kind of call out an ancestor, and I remember breaking down in tears because I'm like, I don't know who to
Mm,
call on,
mm,
Wow.
right? I don't know who to call on. I don't know who I can bring into the space,
mhm,
right?
Mhm.
Um, and so since that point, I've been kind of thinking more about uh, where I come from, where my family comes from. I know we're from Jamaica, um, but there's so much history back there. So, and my mom is a Mormon, and so part of our family has kind of done the genealogy thing. But of course, that goes back. They want to go back to Joseph Smith. Ma, if you watching, I love you. They want to trace it back to the prophet Joseph Smith, but I want to trace it all the way back to uh, to the motherland. So thank you so much for sharing that. Ananda, do you want to add to that at all?
yeah, the the day that I found the article on ancestry.com, I remember it. It was 2022, and I had been guided to look on Ancestry uh, for family information, just going back and forth. And I was wide awake. It was like 2, 3 in the morning when I found that article. And it was a woman who just happened to collect interesting obituaries. And she posted it. And when it came up on my feed, there was nobody awake that I could share that with, but it was so powerful. It was truly the ancestors speaking to us because it came from the Lansing State Journal. And I was born in Flint, Michigan. And my dad and my mom lived in Michigan, and they went to Lansing. I mean, we were right there, right there. And to see that Leonard Leeke, who was my dad's great grandfather and my great great grandfather, his father Peter and his mother Catherine, they had the faith and the courage to get people out of Hagerstown. And we ended up growing up in Landover and Mitchellville, Maryland, which is crazy. It's just like we've been here all along. They've been watching over us. Uh,
Yeah.
just incredible. And I will say this, that 2 years ago, I made a point of, on my birthday, going to Hagerstown to walk on the streets where they might have been. And there's an amazing African American museum, the Dolman Black History Museum, that is based in Hagerstown. And in the museum, I learned that there was only one church, an AME church, that was in existence, and they were responsible for helping people escape from slavery. And there was only one road out. And so I went to the church just to touch it, just to be around it, because I figured, based on the time that my ancestors escaped from Hagerstown, they had to have gone. They had to get help. 16 people just don't disappear.
Right.
So they had to get help, and that was probably where they got their help. And they probably rode out of there or walked out of there on Jones Road. And just to be able to walk down that road, it sends chills, you know.
Wow. Wow. So
To be,
powerful. I see a movie.
yeah, hey, I am super excited. And the other thing I will say too is that the Canadian census records, which you can get access to through ancestry.com, I was able to look and see that they showed up in the census, in the 1861 census. They showed up in the 1881 census. And the names of the children, my great great grandfather's brothers and sisters, were included. And there's a name, Isaac Leeke, one of his brothers, who married into the Pearl family, which is a big one of the big black families there. And then to be able to trace it to the Amherstburg Freedom Museum in Canada, and to see his name on the website, and the names of his children and his children's children, that lets you know. And then to see marriage licenses, in the Canadian census, to see where they lived, that they were farmers, that they were labeled as African. That's how they identified them, and they show up. So it's not just the article; it's just that you can match it, and you can actually see that these family members were there. It's not just me making, trying to piece things together. We could really put some more pieces to our story together. And that's nothing but God and the angels and the ancestors.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Oh my goodness. If you're just joining us, we are in conversation with Ananda Leeke and Dr. John F. Leeke, PhD, about this book, American Change Agent, A Life of Legacy, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. And they're giving away a copy of the book. So if you would like a copy of the book, go ahead and put hashtag inspire in the chat. Put hashtag inspire in the chat to be a part of the drawing for this book. So the book is filled with such powerful stories, and I love for our audience to hear your voices come through directly. So please bless us by sharing a short excerpt of the book.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to, in the very beginning of the book, uh, excuse me, I put together a letter to the reader. I wanted to sort of let the readers know what, in a sense, they were in store for. And so let me just share this quick excerpt. I say, as you read this book, I hope you will come to know and appreciate the man I have become over the last 8 decades. I have never viewed my life as one that has been planned. It has evolved into what I call, quote, an emerging life, end of quote. I hope you will see what I value, meet some of the people who were significant, and witness the many opportunities I had as I pursued a life commitment of change. Further, I hope some of the young people who are beginning their journey will gain inspiration and direction on how to navigate their life and career.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so hearing those words really helps it to come alive for us, right? One of the things that surprised me the most uh, about this book is that you didn't just tell the story, right? You also turn the mirror back to the reader. You included reflection. I've never seen that in a memoir. You included reflection questions for individuals and for groups. Why was it important to invite people into dialogue with each other, right? With themselves and with each other, rather than just have them engage your story in the book?
Well, as you know, having read, um, I'm a teacher, educator, trainer, and as such, you want to involve, i.e., your students, the participants, the readers. You want them to reflect on their own story, their own things that they have experienced, and then it's also important to share that and talk about that with others
Mhm.
to gain what their colleagues, their friends, their family, that what they may uh, have gotten from that particular chapter. Because when when you put something out there, you know that others are having similar kinds of experiences. So that's why we thought that was important
Mhm.
to do, and we took time to think about what would be a good question to get people engaged in it and go further than just them reading the book. Because lots of
Mhm.
people, as you know, have book clubs. And so uh, they don't have to try to have to come up with, with
Yeah,
some, because here are the questions that are there and the discussion starters.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love that those reflections and those reflections and questions, um, they could also be done amongst families.
Yes.
Yes.
So I love that. That was like wow. That was really intriguing for me. So thank you so much for sharing. So Ananda,
Yes.
my dear sister, you are not only a co-author, right, of the book, but also you are a digital storyteller and a communications professional. So how did your lens influence the way this memoir was written, and how do you see digital platforms extending your father's legacy?
That was a great question, first of all. I use the same philosophy and format that I've used in all three of my books that I've written. And each book has, since 2007, since I self published them, I've used digital platforms to promote the work, to engage the readers, to to extend an invitation and
Mhm.
encouragement for people to do the same, to tell their stories. That's my overall objective in writing books and publishing books, is to get people excited about telling their own stories. And
Yeah.
so, um, having a communications background and being very committed to telling stories is, I'm relentless. My father will tell you that every aspect of the writing process, the self-publishing process, the marketing process, the interview, everything. I'm relentless, um, and I push and push and push, probably over the edge at different times. To be very honest,
Mhm.
um, only because I believe that there's a way to tell the story, not just in the book, but what about people who never get to the book?
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why we used the interviews on our YouTube channel, on Dr. John Leake's YouTube channel. We now have over 22 um, videos that cover aspects of the book, mainly the different chapters that people can go to and have insight into what his experiences were like, what his perspective is, our relationship. You can go and see that, and it's encouragement. Some of them are 16 minutes long, some of them are 42 minutes long. It just varies based on the topic.
Yes.
And that is one of the platforms, the video, the podcast, what we're doing right now, um, because people need to hear, and their attention spans. Not everybody's going to read a 400 plus book, and we
Right.
don't have the book on audio at this
Hmm.
point.
Yeah.
What somebody might do is they might listen to a 16-minute podcast. Lots of people listen, or a 42-minute podcast, and that might inspire them to go pick up the book, or to um, think about telling their own family stories, their own story in some way. Because it's
Yeah.
not just we want you to read and buy the book, we want you to look at your own life and discover who you are. Look
Mm.
at your family, look at an aspect of your life, and see if there's a way that you can document it and you can share it. I think being a communications professional, um, it's been, it's 30 years this year since I've been actively engaged in communications, formally and informally. And so that's 3 decades of, of being present and being online.
Yeah.
And I'm not winding down anytime soon. I am making some adjustments to practice digital wellness as I move forward. I just believe that people have these things called phones, and we can reach them. We can reach them through this. And so, if you're hearing this interview and that encourages you to go to anandaleek.com/Dr. John to learn more about the book, to buy it on Ingram Spark, because as self publishers, we make more money when you buy with us on Ingram Spark. But if you want to go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon or the other online book platforms, go right ahead. We've got the upcoming book talk that we're doing September 18th in Alexandria, Virginia. We've got
Mm.
information about um, the the videos that are there. And you see how I just included all of that. I'm always um, giving shout outs, always looking at how we can get our story, out there and encourage others to do the same. So I hope I answered your question. Not
Yes, you did.
not just doing a commercial, not just doing a commercial.
Yes, you did. I put that link in the chat, so go ahead and be sure to visit Nananda's site. Go ahead and purchase that book. It's amazing. It's amazing. So we're going to take a really quick break to do some housekeeping and to give you both a break from talking and take a sip of what you're drinking, and we'll be back with some more conversation.
Okay.
Hey, family, thank you again for hanging out with us this morning on Inspire. I want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. If you're following me on Cara Solutions LLC, thank you so much. But I want to invite you to follow us on Inspire with Sue W. Inspire with Sue W. We're on Facebook and on Instagram. You could also head over to our website at www.getinspired.live, www.getinspired.live, to watch all of our previous episodes, to find out a little bit more about the show, and to subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss anything. Are you or someone you know on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same? We want to hear from you. I want you to hang out with me in conversation on a future episode. So again, you can head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. You could book your appearance on our website. So when you go to our website, click Be Our Guest, and you can fill out that form, and a member of our team will get back to you. And we do this every Saturday that we're on for our sibling in community. If you don't know her, she's affectionately known as the Peace Pastor, Pastor Yanni, Reverend Yanni, this peace poet. Listen, she needs a kidney. She needs a kidney donor. And she's the search of potential donors who are fairly healthy, have the blood types A or O, and the courage to commit to surgery and help save her life. And she would love to share the safety measures with you. If you have a resource, if you have a connection, if there's an organization that you know of, please let us know about it so that we can get that information to her. If you want to reach her, Yanni and her family directly, you can do so at peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com to contact them, or you can head over to emerylivingdonor.org, fill out the survey, and enter her name Ayana Davis. Let's gather together in community and help our sibling get what she needs. So we are going to get back into some more conversation with our amazing guest. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you again for joining me on Inspired today. I'm just, listen, I'm inspired, right? I'm so inspired. Just hearing you talk about your history and the ancestors and how you come together to write this book and how it engages not just only the reader in reading your story, but also pushing them and encouraging them to kind of get into themselves and to speak with others. So I want to know, let's see, talk a lot about family, right? And so we talked about those photographs. That was one of my favorite parts of the book. That's kind of flipping through and seeing all of those photographs, pictures of family, I believe some places that you've lived, even the moments that shaped your journey. And so they're the things that make history breathe, right? And so that leads into one of the most moving sections. So in chapter 20, you write about your wife of 62 years with Dr. John, Teresa, and each of your four children. And this was fascinating to me because they all all of the children's their name begins with M, right?
Yes.
And then which was fascinating. And so I want you to talk about that. But then in chapter 21, your children reflect back on your journey and the father you've been. So I want to hear from both of you. I would love to know uh, what it means to put your family story on paper and honor them in this way. And then Ananda, what was it like to write about your father alongside your siblings?
Yeah, I'll start, Sue. I, first of all, there's such a heavy emphasis on my part and in my life of relationships. I think that is so crucial, and I'm sure you have realized as you read through the book that there's a lot about relationships,
Yeah.
and of course, I put the first relationship my family, and so it was a no brainer that I would at some point uh, write about my family, and of course that started with Teresa, my wife, and who um, was a phenomenal woman in her own right. Okay, um, and so then uh, the children that we helped to bring into this world, and what we did as parents, it's like we had a major responsibility. I knew I had a responsibility uh, to my ancestors. And then as I brought in our children, I had a responsibility to do everything I could to make them be as strong, as committed, as resourceful, as resilient as I could. So Teresa and I think we tried to do our best. Uh, Parenting is not an easy. It's not an easy task, um, and you do a lot of things, and you make some mistakes, and hope that they are not going to be too detrimental. So uh, I I wanted to talk about them, talk about what they have sort of went through, and some of the moments I'm sure are somewhat humorous and all. Um, you know, I think in some ways our family was kind of like the TV family called the Huxtables.
Mm.
In fact, we generally, when they were on, we watched those episodes as a family. And and I know we sometimes I know my youngest son Matthew. We occasionally reminisce about the the time that my oldest came home with not a very good grade, and and the impact that that had not only on him but the other three. And so that was important. And let me just say, yes, all of their names that we gave them started with him, and so they were very often referred to, and other people referred to them as the four M's. So that's how that is.
I love it. I
Um,
love
yeah, let me
it.
stop there so that Ananda can talk about her part in the book.
Go
So
ahead, Ananda.
um, this this was hard for me, and I had been writing and helping to edit because a lot of the book, my dad had the material, and I came in and added some more structure to it and helped make it into um, more of a story. Um, and so I want to say that he wrote, you know, the basis of what we have, and then I came in, and then our copy editor Yael Flussberg came in and added in our graphic designer Gigi Masaranas. Forgive me if I said it wrong, Gigi. Added their touch to it as well. And so, writing the section on my dad in chapter 21, it took me a long time to do it. And I was reading my brother's. I was like, what can I say um, about my father? Um, and I wanted to read just a little bit about it.
Yes,
It was
please.
really it was emotional because my dad and I have not just a father daughter relationship. We have a friendship. We have uh, now co-authors. We have um, fans of each other. It's an intense relationship. People will probably say that's probably one of the best words to use. Before former Los Angeles Laker Kobe Bryant coined the phrase "girl dad" and went viral as a hashtag on social media after ESPN anchor Elle Duncan shared a memory of her conversation with him during a tribute to his life in 2020, my father lived and breathed it. For those who don't know, a girl dad is a father who wants his daughter to be treated equally. That means he wants her to have the same rights, opportunities, and privileges as any boy. For as long as I can remember, my father has shown me a fierce love wrapped in an endless bow of support and freedom of expression. His personal investment in my well being as a child, a teenager, a young adult, and now, as of this writing, a 59-year-old woman, is beyond words. He and my mother taught me I could be and do anything in the world because it was mine. There are moments I can remember when he showed up in my defense, as only a girl dad could. Like the time he met with the two nuns at my all girls Catholic high school and told them in his loud black man voice that they were racist due to their mistreatment of me and the other members of the Awareness Black Culture Club. He had believed in me when I couldn't, especially during the 8 times I took and failed the bar exam, and each time I have written and published a book. He has even helped me write parts of my books over the telephone when I was running out of creative energy and patience. He has listened to me in my craziest moments and advised me before and after I've taken several risks in my career. Ours is a rich, layered, and intense relationship that has allowed me to explore and express myself, experiment with my life, career, and creativity, and passionately pursue my healing and wholeness with confidence, freedom, and a safety net that He will always be in my corner no matter what. So I think writing, having to reflect, and having to put it in, because I gave myself um, some parameters and how much I could write. You can't write a whole nother book. I mean, I would have to write a whole nother book. Maybe that will happen. Um, but having to condense what I think and what I feel, and having to go through all of that again, that was a lot. That's all I can say. It was humongous. Uh, Now that it's done and I can read it, I'm really grateful for that because we're not here on this earth that long. And during the pandemic, and certainly after my mother made her transition to ancestorhood, my dad and I have had a lot of conversations about death and a lot about my fear of him passing, and um, that has been comforting and helped me grow up in a way, in some ways, um, and understand that let's make moments now. I think that was one of the conversations we had. He was like, "Well, I'm still here, so enjoy me while I'm here." He said, "Because I'm just going to go one day." You know, he said, I'll just be gone. So you probably will have to go to therapy for that time. He said, "Well, let's focus on now."
Yes, yes, that's so important. It's so important. Thank you for sharing, Ananda. Hey, Bishop Bonnie, I see you there again. If you want a copy of this book, please put hashtag inspire. Dr. John, how did you feel reading these reflections? From Ananda and your other children.
Well, without question, I felt extremely proud of them and felt rather humble that uh, their words were very meaningful. Um, um, I I would certainly cherish them, and as I read uh, their comments, it helped to reinforce that we had done a good job. Um, so I feel blessed.
I
Yes,
wanted to say one more thing. You can have siblings, and everybody has a unique relationship with their parents. And even though you're in the house together, and you've been at the same things, to read my brother Michael, Mark, and Matthew's reflections, that was really beautiful to see their relationship, their feelings about our Father. And you don't always get a chance to see that or to know that, especially as people grow older and different things happen in life and family. And people, not everybody is going to share. But I will say this: uh, every member of this family has played a role in this book in some way, including my sister-in-laws, Lou Ing Leeke and Pamela Charity Leeke. Pam served as our reader, and she helped uh, provide feedback on how the book sounded and felt to a reader. Uh, my sister-in-law Lou gave us her feedback on the section about her, and she supplied wedding photos from their 1993 wedding. So everybody has played a role, and not just their prayers and their prayers of their energy and their love too, supporting us through this process and giving us ideas on what to do with the book. Certainly, my brother Matthew and my brother Mark, because of their technical skills and video and television and radio. They've helped us. We're not a team of two. We're a team of four and five and six folks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, what advice would you have for other families that want to kind of undertake or do something similar? What advice would you have?
I'll start if you don't mind, Jay.
Go ahead. No.
Um, I call him Jay. I have a lot of names for him too. So I I really want to encourage people not to wait until their parents are 80 and on up. Is to ask questions as they go along if they can. And if your parents are still here with you, to use this thing called a phone. We have voice recorders on here. You can transcribe that with the help of AI. You can use the video, the camera. It doesn't have to be a very clean, version of it. You don't have to put it on YouTube like we have. It's just making sure that you have documentation. Um, Maybe getting people to write out, what they think about family. Having a book. I know at family reunions, people have all kinds of memorabilia and all kinds of books, and people document that. And we have technology now that is pretty easy for a lot of us to access and to use. And so use the digital tools. Yeah. And if you are of African descent, I want to put a plug out for African ancestry. Use that service to find out where your family is from, because the blood test of the matrilineal and the patrilineal lines can help you. We have a 99 point percent in our DNA from my dad's DNA, and a 96 point something percent in in our, in our DNA that lets us know that we're from the Akan people, we're from the Yoruba people, and that especially nowadays, knowing where you're from, there's nothing like it. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Dr. John.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of different people, and you hear some people talk about uh, the family. They don't know each other. They've grown apart. Something may have happened, and they say, "Well, I haven't talked to my brother or my sister in 30 years. Uh, I don't know. And I really feel so sorry for what they have experienced and what they've gone through, especially when I think about for me and my family, it's a completely different situation. Um, and we're not perfect, um, but I do think that, and especially in some ways, the black families. I mean, there's been so much stuff that has happened that we have had no control over. And so, in some ways, now that we do have, essentially, we do have freedom. Um, and we've, uh, we've been able to make a lot of progress, and to, not, as, as Nanda was saying, not to use some of the technology and so forth that we do have access to, and the fact that people still got time, to try and resolve some of those um, differences and difficulties that they may have had. So I encourage, I really strongly encourage people, uh, take advantage of what you still have. You don't have to necessarily do what we've done in terms of writing a book, but at least know each other, connect with each other, um, forgive each other if it's necessary. Family, as I've said numerous times now, is so, so, so important, so critical. Yeah.
Listen, you speaking to my heart today, and you have convicted me. Hi, mom. My mom is watching with us. You truly convicted me today. Wow, wow, wow. As we get ready to close out, um, and this is before we're gonna have this drawing. Put hashtag inspire. Make sure that there is no space between the hashtag and inspire for you to be included in the drawing. I want to close today with the gift that you leave your readers. You end the book with a legacy gift for you. And so, what is the one gift that you most hope readers will carry forward with them from your story?
Yeah, there two things I want to read from, particularly that chapter is chapter 22, a legacy gift for you, lessons learned. And in the first part of that, I say that I firmly believe I was placed on earth to make it a better place. Through the many roles I have played as a son, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, a husband, a father, an uncle, a godparent, a friend, a black Catholic man, a leader, a colleague, an entrepreneur, and a member of many communities and organizations. I think I've done my best to make this world better. And then the last thing that I want to quote from the book, the ninth lesson that we have is entitled, You Can Be a Change Agent. And I've said, if you're interested in being a change agent, identify how you can use your skills and experience, excuse me, how you can use to improve the organization you work in and the communities you live and serve in. And I close with a quote from Octavia Butler. Quote, all that you touch, you change. And and all that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. End of quote. So be patient and keep working on it as long as it takes. Make, quote, play the long game your mantra.
Wow, thank you. Whew. This has been such an amazing conversation. And I want to invite those of you who are watching, please share it after we end this episode. Share it out, share with your family and your friends because the wisdom and the nuggets, uh, everything that's been the gems that have been dropped today during our conversation. Everyone needs to hear it. This, particularly families, particularly Black families, need to hear these words that were spoken today. Again, I want to before we close out together, I want to give you an opportunity to put the hashtag inspire. Giving you one more chance to put that hashtag in if you want to be in the drawing to win a copy of this amazing book. So we're getting ready to do. My mother has won.
All
Wow.
You
right.
are the winner.
Yay.
How appropriate is that? How appropriate is it? Mom, you are the winner of this book. I will be sure to send them your address so that they can send a copy to you. Oh my goodness, that's so appropriate that my mother would win.
Yes,
The
it
right
is.
person.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
isn't
wonderful.
it? Woo. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for sharing both for sharing the wisdom of a life lived and the vision of a legacy carried forward. Family,
Yes.
those of you who are watching, all of you on social media who will catch this in the replay, American Change Agent is more than a memoir. It's a blueprint for courage, for rootedness, and authentic leadership. And so let's take their example as fuel for our own work in building a more just, equitable, and loving world, and a more just and loving family. Let us take their words to heart today. Until we meet again next time, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated. But most of all, I want you to stay inspired. I'll see you again next week.